in the winter, and so that was usually there was snow every 6, 8, 10 hours. And so my bookkeeper told me one year, he says, plowing snow. I said, I just want to talk plowing snow. I'm not sure about the fuel. Between what you did to your truck, it's you spent 16 grand plowing snow. I said, okay, we're done. That was huge. I'm loving it. I can understand the kids, getting in now.
I always appreciate John. Sure, it's sweet to play. I'm usually commenting and correcting something that's come up to the agenda. Good job, John.
Now we're done.
Yeah. But no, I mean,
I get home and I was there.
I don't mind. Like I said, the one thing I want to do is the street light. All of those really different things to say.
It was 8 miles just to get into the street. I was thinking when you looked on the map, House Creek was here, and I was just about 2 miles east of House Creek. And it was entertaining. I loved it. I got to a point where it was like, better get her right. Yeah.
I don't know. We could even back.
I couldn't go fast. And then sometimes I couldn't get anywhere from where I was. Dick Swanner used to laugh. I'll be up, but I'm just going to park the D4 there this one. He did for 2 or 3 years. And he got piled so big one year, he says, I don't know what we can do. He said, the high center, this sucker here. There was no storm, and we got a good note.
Well, I think we clarify that.
It was like how he described it. He said there's across the big. It's the Mesa, and he says every place else is sunny and it's still churning dark and snowing around. He said, I said, so you sat in your porch and laughed? He says, yeah, I did, because he said it was just. Well, it was always amazing to me. The first 10 years was kind of neat, but then it got to be a little bit of a...
First off, if it was a
They have issues. I'm sorry.
Well, this is what I think she's getting at. The GO program.
It was... Yeah, so like I say, the place has been fun to work on. Hopefully I get it done this year. And, if I get this one done, I'm close. If I had a month not having to go to the office, I could probably get it done. I think I found some people I can. It's when you're living in it, letting other people do stuff. It's hard, so I found people I can trust and use, and I'll get it done. And I've been cash flowing it because I didn't want to owe any more money when I got done with the house up there. It was not a good financial situation for me, but it was. I'm getting ready to retire in maybe 3 years or so, or 5 years, and so I'm kind of trying to keep the bills.
I don't suppose on both sides because most people.
Pardon?
You know, I
Social Security and all that stuff appears to me to have been made with the concept you're going to have your bills paid off by the time you get older. Because I get, there's people out there. I think I looked and my Social Security will give me somewhere around $1,500 a month when the second time I can take it.
Are they
and I'm looking at it, and I'm going, okay, if I had that mortgage up on the Mesa, I'm $300 in the hole already, and I haven't eaten lunch yet. I haven't bought any food. I haven't even got to the Mesa. And I'm going and I'm seeing a lot of people in their 60s with mortgages that are just outrageous, and I don't know what they're doing.
I'm calling the meeting to attention. If you'd all stand and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, thank you for your patience tonight. We had a little bit of a technical glitch, so that's why we're starting a tad bit later. We'll talk fast. The first item on tonight's agenda is the consent agenda. The listing of the consent agenda is a group of items to be acted upon with a single motion and vote. This agenda is designed to expedite the handling of limited routine matters by City Council. I will ask if a citizen or a council member wishes to have any specific item removed from the consent agenda prior to the vote, and at that time, all you have to do is say take it off and we will. The items on tonight's consent agenda include approval of the work session and regular meeting minutes for May the 8th and for a special meeting on May the 15th. Approval of the expenditure vouchers for May the 22nd. Approval of a renewal hotel and restaurant liquor license for Ocean Pearl Chinese Restaurant. Approval of a renewal hotel and restaurant liquor license for Fiesta Mexicana. Approval of a renewal hotel and restaurant liquor license for La Casita. Approval of a lease for extra parking with Mitchell Toms. At this time, is there any item on the consent agenda that anybody in the audience or on council would like to table temporarily? Okay, in that case, may I have a motion?
Honorable Mayor, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented with the addition of $41,542.11.
Second.
Lucero.
Aye.
Carlson.
Aye.
Keel.
Aye.
Betts.
Aye.
Noy.
Aye.
Baby.
Aye.
Sheep.
Aye. Okay. At this time, I would like to just have us just take a minute to think a little bit about the people in Santa Rosa, Texas. It seems like these events are occurring on a more regular basis. I think there was something like 27 or whatever since the beginning of the year. So sadly, as one student from that school noted in an interview, she wasn't really surprised that they had a shooting in her school. She just figured it wasn't a case of whither just when. And unfortunately, that's kind of what we're living with anymore. So to say our thoughts and prayers go out to that to that group of citizens is really insufficient. But I'm sure we all in this room have thought about those people, and just wish that there was some way that we could have fewer of these events occur. Although we have no presentations that are listed on tonight's agenda, we do have a group that would like to come and talk about what they've been doing in our community as far as farming and gardening is concerned. So, Reed, if you would like to, you and anyone else would like to come to the podium. We were going to have some pictures, and unfortunately, we couldn't get the technology to cooperate. So.
Thank you.
It is nice.
Expensive.
Good evening. We're from the group that's working across the street from you at the Cortez Community Garden. And we got started a little less than a year ago when we were approached by the School of Farm Group to think about taking over the little demonstration youth garden they had outside the swimming pool. And a few of us liked that idea. We were very interested in gardening and looking at food production by people as a healthy thing to do and a productive thing to do. And we moved into it last June, and we had the idea of much more than that, but we weren't sure what the city's vision was at all. And we immediately worked out a rapport with Dean. And I know Dean's not from Missouri, but it was constantly show me what you can do there. And I think we showed him that we could clean up the place and make it a beautiful place again. And I wish we had our presentation because we've got a lot of pictures. More than 30 of us all worked on weeding constantly and cleaning up that site so that by the end of the summer and into fall, we were growing food there for the food pantry, because that's the group that we most identify with here in Cortez, and feeding people who fresh, healthy food who ordinarily don't have the opportunity to easily get that. And at the end of the year, it seemed that Dean liked the idea of creating a community garden and expanding the space. And it's been amazing working with him and Parks and Rec. Mark and Don and Lyle and the other guys just really incredibly stepped up. We as a group raised $5,700 for the raised beds and water into the site, but the city, you know, they brought the irrigation water in there, put up fencing, and have provided that land. I mean, that's park land that's on. And we are incredibly appreciative of that. A few of us are very familiar with the other community gardens in Southwest Colorado, and it's always been a shame that Cortez didn't have a showplace community garden. And with the city's help, we really have the opportunity to have that here right in front of the rec center. And who knows, you know, 2-3 years from now, down on the south side, much bigger community garden in that new park that's going to be built there. And, you know, this is something that can be a real asset, and we hope to do it. And everybody behind me would like to also thank you, so get ready.
Hello, my name is Colette Cummings, and I have a plot at the new community garden. And I'm here to thank the City of Cortez for allowing the vision of a few forward-thinking individuals to become a reality in the project of the Cortez Community Garden at the Rec Center. I'm excited about being a part of this endeavor to produce local, sustainable food to share with the Good Samaritan Food Pantry and to create a beautiful space to connect with like-minded friends and neighbors. I hope the success of this garden will become a platform for future gardens in other parts of the city. So thanks again to the city for supporting this effort.
Hi, my name is Susan Riggs, and I'm a newcomer to this town. I have to say the community garden was kind of a last-minute choice for me, and I got awarded a plot, but I have to say, not having gardened in 40 years, it's fantastic because we have master gardeners, we have newbies like me that really haven't done anything in a long time, but we also are creating that community. And the participation of the city in this entire endeavor, let's keep it going because it truly is making a difference in all of our lives. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Melissa Clevenger, and I just moved to Cortez in December, left all my family and friends back in Texas. So initially my goal was to meet people and plug into the community, and I was lucky enough to get a plot. And it's been great. I've met some really great people and excited for what's in store this year. So I'm really appreciative of this opportunity. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kirby Vaughn, and I'm someone who's been a part of this since the beginning. And I just want to express my gratitude for the city's support in our efforts to create a community garden. We weren't sure what to expect in working with the city, We did expect some roadblocks, but every time we thought we would come up against an obstacle, instead we found support every single time. And for a city to support individuals and our group in trying to create something for each other, that's a really big deal. So thank you.
Well, I'd like to thank you all for your comments. It makes me feel very good when citizens come in and say what a wonderful experience they've had working with the city. I know that those of us that are on council are in a little bit of a unique situation because we get to work with these people on a continuing basis, and I personally have always found them to be really great to work with, so it's wonderful when citizens come and share that same experience. And I also want to compliment you. I've watched your progress over the last about 3 weeks now, and that area looks wonderful. Your plants are beginning to come up and fill in those raised beds, and I'm just really anxious to see what it's going to look like as the weeks pass and you actually begin to have produce that you're growing. So, okay, well, kudos to you guys. Thanks.
Thank you, guys.
All right, this is the time now for citizen participation. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to address council? And this can be anything that is not on the agenda. All right, in that case, public hearings. Ordinance number 1253, series 2018. Mike, certifying delinquent charges, assessments, or taxes.
This ordinance corrects some omissions or inappropriate, or not inappropriate, but maybe ineffective ways of saying things. There's a process where the city can certify to the treasurer monies that are owed to the city if they're laid out in an ordinance. And what had happened, it looked like at some point in time, if I'm remembering correctly here, the words taxes was left out of our ordinance, but it is in the state statute, so we're adding the word taxes to allow, we're going to try and collect any delinquent sales taxes that way, or other taxes by certifying them to the treasurer, who will then collect them for us. So this is a more effective way of collecting monies owed to the city. You'll probably see some more ordinances on some other language Kathy Moss and I've been working on. So staff recommends passage of this ordinance.
All right, council, are there any questions?
I have none.
Okay. In that case, I'm going to open this to public hearing. Is there anybody in the audience who would like to speak for or against this ordinance? Okay, hearing nothing, I close the public hearing, and if there aren't any other questions or comments, may I have a motion?
I make a motion approving the final reading of ordinance number 1253, series 2018, authorizing the city, Cortez, to certify delinquent charges, assessments, or taxes to the county treasurer for collection as taxes.
Second that.
Noise.
Aye.
Keel.
Aye.
Betts.
Aye.
Levy.
Aye.
Carlson. Aye. Lucero.
Aye.
Peach.
Aye. We have no unfinished business. Moving on to new business, resolution number 10, series 2018, designating the city manager as the official signature for the grant agreement for expenditure funds on the old high school property. Chris.
Yes, good evening. Essentially, this really is a housekeeping item just to stay in compliance with GOCO. We did receive the grant for the purchase of the property. And one of the things, though, that they were requiring now is that we state in the resolution that we authorize the expenditure of funds. We did not do that the last time. So we're doing the resolution just to do that. At the same time, since we are going to have a bit of a changeover with an ACM and a new city manager coming on, we did ask GOCO if we needed to fill out any form designating the new signatory And they said no, as long as it just says city manager and whoever's filling that position can do that. So we did not really have to make any additional changes for that.
Save a little paperwork down the line. Okay. Are there any questions? May I have a motion?
Make a motion. I move the resolution number 10, series 2018 be approved to designate the city manager as the official signature for the grant agreement and to authorize the expenditure of funds for the park property acquisition, the old MCHS.
Second.
Betts.
Aye.
Noyes.
Aye.
Lucero.
Aye.
Carlson.
Aye.
Levy.
Aye.
Keel.
Aye.
Sheets.
Aye. The City Hall Solar Project, Shane.
Thank you, Your Honor. City Council identified developing a solar farm during your last strategic plan. As you know, there are many regulatory hurdles in developing a solar farm. And so given the fact that the council wanted us to pursue solar, but we had some hurdles in our way, staff thinks that really our efforts right now should be focused on rooftop solar and things that the city will eventually be able to achieve your goal of kind of electric independence over time by going that route instead. So right now our best metric that we have for City Hall rooftop is on City Hall. Our system, which is about a year old, was designed at 25,000 kilowatt hours. It actually over-delivered its first year by 7% and actually produced 26,900 kilowatt hours. So given these metrics, staff thinks that the best thing for council to consider is taking from our 15% design on the roof and considering going to 100% design. So basically every watt that this building used, I'm sorry, my son's trying to FaceTime me and it's really distracting. Anyway, the basics of the deal in front of you is that the city would make annual payments of $35,833 and would have a balloon payment, which is really the same. It would be a 6 payment of $35,835. The city would pay a total of $250,000 over 6 years. I would remind you that the system cost out of the box is $274,040. So the discount is 22% or $59,000 over that term. When you consider the city will pay either way $113,181 for electricity over that 6 years, the net cost for the system is just over $100,000. And then I guess the biggest financial reason to consider this is that the forecast for the city with this system would be that we would save 64.42% over the life of the array. So instead of paying $604,000 in the next 25 years, the city will pay $215,000. So I think the numbers speak for themselves. I do see John Shaw in the audience who came over for this momentous occasion. I would just point out the fiscal impacts. The first year's lease payment is prorated. It'd be about $11,824. The array will offset about $6,000 of usage in that period, so really the net to the city would be about $6,000. We have in the City Hall over $5,000 fund. We have a $20,000 kind of contingency fund, which could easily absorb this budget. So even though it wasn't specifically budgeted for, we do have a provision in the budget that would accommodate this. So staff recommends that council move to approve an addendum to the solar system lease. And I would say that City Attorney Mike Green has reviewed it and given his stamp of attorney approval. And like I said, John Shaw is here and we can answer any questions from council.
All right, council, do you have any questions? Okay, in that case, may I have a motion?
I move that we approve an addendum to solar system lease number 15-D, dates October 15th, 2016, adding an 88.2 kilowatt system to City Hall, to authorize the mayor to sign the addendum and site lease agreement as attached.
Second.
Carlson. Aye. Levy.
Aye.
Noyes.
Aye.
Keel.
Aye.
Lucero.
Aye.
Best.
Aye.
Sheep.
Aye. All right, request from Montezuma Cortez RE1 School District for reimbursement on a tap. Shane?
Thank you, Your Honor. I received a request from Carla Hone, who's the finance director of the school district, and I've attached it, but basically she says that when they were planning on selling the Hawkins building to the Housing Authority, they wanted to hold on to one of the buildings for the food service. And so at the end of the year, they had gone and purchased a tap for that purpose. And so now that deal has changed quite a bit. The school district no longer has a need for it. I would tell you the city hasn't put any resources into it. We took their check and that's it. We haven't put any work into the tap. But they have paid it already. Subsequent to this, staff, I would say Sam and Phil, kind of worked out a sheet of policies for the city just so we know how to handle these things in the future. And there's two things that conflict. The first is that moving forward we say that a lot must be legally platted in order to receive a tap. And so under this policy, as it's written now, we would have never sold them the tap. We would have said, school, you got to subdivide it first to do it. That being said, policy number 3 is all water taps that are purchased are at the owner's risk. There's no refunds. So I think we have two conflicting things here. I think the council could really go either way because, like I say, you know, really under this policy, if we had that in effect at the time, we would have never sold it to them. I would point out one other thing. The attorney pointed out that when you look at the receipt, it shows the Housing Authority. I did check with the school district and say, look, it shows the Housing Authority. Did you purchase it? And Carla Hone sent me a copy of the purchase order and the check, so they actually did buy it. It was just issued to the Housing Authority because they were actually the property owner at the time. But if we refunded it to the school, they actually were the people who paid it for this.
Are there any questions, Council?
Are there other possible, examples that could come up in the near future where we'll see this again? My thinking on that is, setting a precedent about reimbursement. Does it have, what's the lifespan of that reciprocity type of atmosphere we're trying to invent?
Right, and that's a very good question. I think one is, I think the school district is different than most people who come through and buy a tap. What we were trying to avoid with this policy is somebody who comes and buys a dozen taps from the city, wants to do a big development, and comes back 5 years later and says, never mind, I'm not going to develop, can I have my money back? I think that the shortness in time frame here, I think the fact that it is a school district and things change pretty quickly on them. And then third, I would say now that we have this policy, if our policy, if we'd done everything correctly and it just had no refunds, I think our inclination would say, look, we followed our policy and it says no refunds.
But there's enough gray area in there that...
Right, and that's why it's in front of council, is because there is that gray area. Not to say that people can still come and ask you, but I think that since this has been developed, moving forward, that should make it pretty clear for other folks.
Okay. So we've gotten rid of that gray area.
I hope so. Now, somebody's going to be here in 2 weeks, and you're going to call me a liar, but I'll be gone, so it won't matter. But I don't see this as being...
I never say that to your face anyway,
right.
So it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I don't see this as being a big recurring thing. I see, like Sam in the audience, you agree with that generally, that we're not going to see, or I guess Phil too, you anticipate that this is going to come back quite a bit on us?
No, I don't think we'll be dealing with this scenario. I mean, the fact of the matter is we did nothing for the tap. We didn't, extend services. We didn't tap the main. There are no infrastructure installed.
Right. So we have no hours in this.
We have no skin in this game whatsoever.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
I think the big difference for me would be if it was installed.
Yes.
And this isn't. If it was installed and in the ground, I don't know that I'd be joining in the recommendation just because it's installed.
Neither would I.
And so we're there, and that's why I think this is a okay thing to do.
So if someone does come back, this will be something we'll look at kind of on a case-by-case basis, depending on how much time we have or, skin in the game.
The facts are going to control in each situation
Okay.
rather than just what we do here.
Well, to me, the big difference too is that this is a taxpayer-supported institution. It's not a private developer that came in and was planning on developing something and then changed their minds for whatever reason. This is an institution is important to the community, and as we're all aware, why money's tight for them, and to have them have to pay for something that they can't use, or it just doesn't seem right to me, because actually that's money out of my pocket. All right, are there any other questions or comments?
I have none. Thank you, guys.
May I have a motion?
Honorable Mayor, I make a motion to reimburse the Montezuma Cortez RE1 School District $4,844 because they were sold a tap for a lot that wasn't legally subdivided and have not made any attempt to connect to the city's water infrastructure.
Second. Levy?
Aye.
Keel?
Aye.
Carlson? Aye. Lucero? Betts?
Aye.
Noyes?
Aye.
Sheep?
Aye. Request for professional civil engineering services. Bill?
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of City Council.
Hey, Phil.
I'm bringing this before you. I generally don't come and ask to put an RFP out there. I usually come before you to get approval for a project that's already been bid out. But this aspect of the downtown median project wasn't brought up. This came about as a discussion internally with staff and the need for us to have more engineering services given the scope of our current capital projects that we have out there already this year, in addition to the median project. We have the water and streets program on North Dolores Road, the preliminary engineering report for the water system, the concrete cost share, this project, as well as private development in the city that needs to be reviewed by engineering staff as a part of their planning and zoning compliance. And the reason that we are seeking engineering services out of house basically is because our IGA stipulates that we need to have a certified Colorado professional engineer in the state of Colorado. So basically, what I'm asking you for is permission to, I'm expecting this to cost roughly $50,000 for these services. This will not impact the street improvement fund, as we have saved upwards of just short of $500,000 with state DOLA grant money as well as CDOT grant monies for the ADA project. And I believe that this is going to be a really good investment in making sure that we're compliant with CDOT requirements for the project, as well as providing a professional engineer oversight. If we were to task our only PE on staff, Ken Torres, with this, it would really consume most of his working hours, and we have a lot of other requirements that he's going to have to fulfill for us. So I'm asking for your nod to go ahead and go out to bid for this, because I don't want to pull the trigger and advertise and have professional engineering firms do a lot of work and provide us with a bid, only for it not to be something that the council doesn't want to invest in. So that's why I'm here tonight.
When you put this RFP out, will you be sending it specifically or specifying that it needs to be an engineering firm that has experience with this specific kind of project?
Yes, ma'am. Actually, CDOT provided us with a list of engineering firms locally that have done this work. We would want someone who, this is nothing new to them. They already know the onerous requirements that CDOT has, so we wouldn't be reinventing the wheel.
Okay. Seems to me like it's money well spent. Are there any other questions, comments?
Is it contractual? Meaning, is there a start and stop time for this?
It would be concurrent with the project itself, yes, sir.
Okay.
I'm sorry, but I didn't catch exactly what you said you thought it'd run around.
I'm sorry, ma'am?
The amount of money you thought it would run?
Oh, it's roughly, I'm estimating it to be not to exceed $50,000.
Any other questions?
I have no. So, I do. So this was This was something that you weren't aware of in the beginning? You would need to do this, is that right?
Right. It was an internal staff discussion about our overall responsibilities and how far stretched we would be over the course of this construction year. And given the requirements of all of our other projects, as well as supporting planning and building project review for construction and design standards in the city, I really couldn't see allocating our one professional engineer on staff to, be tied to this project only when we have other requirements. So yes, sir, it was missed initially, but as a part of the process and talking internally with my team, we thought this was the best tack to take.
Okay, other questions?
So these guys report to you anyway, won't it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, may I have a motion?
I'll make a motion approving a request to send out a request for proposal for professional civil engineering services.
Second.
Keel.
Aye.
Betts.
Nay.
Lady.
Aye.
Joyce.
No.
Lucero.
Aye.
Carlson. Aye. Sheep.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Phil. We have no draft resolutions or ordinance. We have no other items of business. At this time, is there anybody that would like to address council? All right, we have no city attorney's report.
Ma'am, there's one thing I need to bring up. I don't think I'll be able to be at the next meeting. I will either be on the road back from Denver or still in Denver. I have to go to a training that's a mandated training for a contract I have with the state. And so I don't think I will be back in time for the next meeting.
Are you talking about this coming Tuesday's meeting, or are you talking about the next formal?
The next formal meeting.
Okay.
And so I'll make sure I go over everything before I leave, but I need to spend Monday and Tuesday in Denver.
Okay. Thanks, Mike. Mr. Hale, your last opportunity to provide us with an update.
Keep it short.
Sure. Thank you. So first, thanks to everybody on council that was able to make it out to the cleanup day, as well as to the greater community. I think that we had 75-ish people there. It's amazing what a good promotion, a nice event, and wonderful weather will do for an event. So it was great. It was
third time's a charm for you.
Yeah, like 10 times a charm, I think. But anyway, it was fun, and it was, as always, a nice event. And I think a lot of people, do get a lot of joy and do have a lot of fun, and just, you can drive by and see trash on the road or walk by, but to just get out and pick it up and then celebrate with your neighbors, I think it's a fun event, and I hope it continues for a long time. And then next, I just want to thank this community for the awesome opportunity to serve as the city manager for the last 6 years. My family and I have been extremely happy here. We've made some lifelong friends. I think Cortez will always have a piece of my heart, and leaving has been one of the hardest things I've ever done. I think I leave you guys in great hands. You have an awesome staff. People work hard. They're dedicated. They're smart as hell. So things will continue on. Probably will run smoother without a city manager. I hope they don't, just for continuance of the form of government, but I'm sure that things will run extremely smooth. And then I also want to thank this council and previous city councils for always being so supportive. I've always felt, the council listens to staff and gives us a lot of deference, and it's great to have your support. And I'd say also your leadership. Without this council's vision and leadership, staff can't get anything done. There's nothing we do without a strong council. So anytime I look back, staff can look back and say, geez, look at what, we're able to accomplish here. It's always because we have a council that wants that. I had promised if you guys just wanted to sit up here and say, no, we don't want to do anything, staff would have a lot of time around a water cooler because we wouldn't have any work to do. So anyway, I just want to thank you guys and thank your predecessors, and just, it's been great, so thanks.
Thank you, Shane.
Thanks.
City Council committee reports. Has anybody been anywhere?
Let's see. I've been a couple places. It's my first time to the Cortez Cultural Center as being a board member. It's quite lengthy. Yeah. And I'll keep it short. They did the agenda and recorded minutes. They talked about the gift shop. The sales are about the same as last year. They mentioned, Officer Brinkerhoff spoke to the board about shoplifting at the gift shop and gave some recommendations on how to address that problem. Under the plaza, the Master Gardener project is going to be continued. We're working on an irrigation fix for the grounds around the cultural center. It just needs a lot of work. The fence behind the center is going to be repaired. Some of the boards are coming loose. One more item. Two more items. Pueblo to Pueblo race went real well. We brought in $3,998 this year as opposed to $2,200 last year. So that was quite a success. Almost doubled it. Patsy Brown Scholarship presentation, $500 is allotted. Farm tour went well. I was on that farm tour and I really enjoyed it. We went to 2 farms. One was a large 1,000 acres mega farm almost, and the second was a small organic farm, and they were both run by the families. So it was really interesting to see the contrast between the large scale farm and the small one. Birding festival went great, good weather, lots of people, too windy. Preservation Day tour went well. They did walks 3 times down Main Street, showed different items in town. The Slightly Off-Center Adventure Tour will take place in Santa Fe coming up next year, or later on this year. And the Wildflower Tour with Al Schneider went well. We had about 6 people involved. And I happen to be involved in that one too. So I'm enjoying this cultural center. Okay. The second committee I went to was the Parks and Rec Advisory Board. They're going to have a ribbon cutting for the softball complex south of town on June 4th at 6 p.m. And Dean was thinking maybe the city council or the mayor might be invited to attend.
Well, and again, so it's a ribbon cutting for the new playground?
The baseball diamond. And the pickleball courts are coming along real well. They had kind of a soft opening, and a few people got out there and played. They're going to have a ceremony. Depends on when the sidewalks get upgraded, but that'll be forthcoming and will be announced. And the BMX track had their first race, I think Friday, and I happened to be by there too, and I saw the first race, and it's well attended. There's no parking in the lot. There's so many people. Lots of kids were there involved, and tiny kids and teenagers, and it was well managed, and just really a credit to our city. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Anybody else?
I had the pleasure of driving for the birding festival. First, thank the city for loaning us vehicles. I took my group down to McElmo, and they spent some of the time birding at a property down there, and then they had their package was spending time at Guy Drew's vineyard. Guy Drew's? And so we spent about twice the time at Guy Drew's as we did birding. But,
and how many birds did you see down there?
That's the only way to look at it.
I was driving, so I saw lots of birds.
Yeah.
I can't speak. No, what a great group of folks, and hats off to Guy Drew. What a cool operation he's running down there. Completely opened it up to all these people and made them feel really comfortable. So it was a lot of fun.
Okay, the Historic Preservation Committee had their day Saturday, and they did their walks down Montezuma, and they said it was the busiest they've ever been. They had 34 people take the walking tours, so they ended up making 3 walks. One person did it twice, plus one dog. And they said the wind wasn't blowing, so it was just a perfect day for them. And they broke it down to one couple was from Florida, one from Texas, one from Washington, one from Minnesota, 2 from Dolores, and 18 people from Cortez. But all in all, they had a great day.
Good. Well, Mesa Verde Country met, and my apologies, I left my notes at home, so maybe you can help me remember, or if not, I'll bring them next month. The lodger's tax is up, both in the city and the county, which is a good thing. The Colorado Tourism Office held a meeting in April with people from the Southwest area to kind of talk about what kinds of things we have in common, what kinds of things we differ on as far as the various communities. And one of the things Kelly said that she thought was quite interesting was that communities like Telluride and Durango, who she would have thought would have looked at themselves as being very different from us, really found a lot of commonalities. And so she thought that that was quite interesting. Mike mentioned the farm tour. They're going to have a ranch tour. I believe it's April the 6th. Anyway, I'm going on that tour, so I can report back and let you know how that goes. And then they're also planning on having another farm and ranch tour later on in the late summer, early fall. CTO, Colorado Tourism Office, is also looking at that. It's kind of interesting. Agritourism is something that has been talked about for a long time. Some communities have been very successful at doing it. It's never quite gotten off the ground here. And so we are really in the forefront with the Cultural Center and Mesa Verde Country working together to get this off the ground. And CDO is looking very carefully at how successful this is as a possible model for the rest of the state. So this may be another way that we can bring some additional tourists into the community. The price of the tour is $100 per person, and that includes lunch and, of course, the transportation to get out to the operation. So I know Mike had a good time, and I'm certainly looking forward to it. And I think that's what I can remember. I'll check my notes, and if there's anything additional, I'll share that at the next meeting. Are there any other committees?
No, I was the same when you were at.
I know, I was going to say, is there anything else that you can think of that I missed?
When they mentioned the write-up in the paper of the German newspaper.
Oh, yes.
Or the
yes.
Magazine?
Yes.
That one.
One of the and that was really rather interesting because it was in German, so we only knew it was about Cortez because we actually could see it written. But Kelly's done a really good job of reaching out. She has been to was at a conference up in Denver recently, and her whole job is to really engage these tour operators from all over the world to consider coming and bringing their tour groups to Cortez. So it's that kind of really proactive marketing that I think is providing us with the uptick in our lodger's tax. So that's a good thing. All right, if there are no other committee reports, the workshop, we had a busy workshop. There was security awareness training, presentation on employee fitness incentives. It's been very successful. It's a program that Linda Smith and Russ Machen have worked very hard to develop, and they had 27 city employees that were able to get rebates because of their participation in advancing physical fitness, which is a good thing for them and also a good thing for the city from a health perspective. We had a really great discussion on the fiber project. There will be a community meeting tomorrow at 6 o'clock here in council chambers. I would encourage all of you to come and attend that. The two gentlemen that presented tonight will also be making a presentation tomorrow, and it will be a great opportunity for citizens to ask questions and again get a feel for what it is that the city is looking at proposing to do. We've talked about broadband for a long time, and this will give us a chance to hopefully maybe be able to move it to the next level. So tell your friends and come. We had a debriefing on a Suggestions for Success presentation that was given to the council and city board members on from SURSA, and then briefly talked about the next steps on hiring the city manager, the new city manager. So is there anything else for the good of the city?
Everything's good.
Okay, we are adjourned. And it's not even 8:30. It's so nice to be here. Oh, I saw that.
It's okay. I'm not worried. We can fix it. Linda can make another copy.
Well, I know you can make it up at the front. You stop by town.
That's okay. If council, yeah.
Well, if you
stop by, I'm just going to pull it on the change.